Under the blazing twin suns, the cargo ship landed in the middle of a dusty human colony. Wind pushed fine red sand across the landing pad, scraping against the metal hull. The ramp opened with a hiss, and from the shadows stepped a tall, silver-haired alien princess, wrapped in royal armor that shimmered like starlight. Her name was Princess Elira of the Thalvan Empire, heir to one of the oldest alien dynasties. She was expecting honor guards, banners, and songs welcoming her to her new life. But instead, she saw no one. Only an old workshop stood nearby, smoke rising weakly from its chimney. The air smelled of oil and metal. Elira frowned. "Where are the reception troops?" she muttered in her language. The pilot drone beeped nervously. Delivery confirmed. Coordinates verified. The ramp closed and the ship lifted away, leaving her standing alone in the dust. Moments later, the door of the workshop creaked open. A man limped out, wiping grease from his hands. He wore a torn work jacket and had tired blue eyes. His name was Ethan Cole, a human engineer who repaired colony machines. His right leg was mechanical, damaged from a mining accident years ago. When he saw the princess standing there with her glowing crown, his wrench dropped to the ground. You lost, miss?" he asked. Elira's eyes narrowed. "You are not Commander Vornax of the Royal Alliance." Ethan scratched his neck. "Can't say I am. Just fix engines, not empires." Her royal escort ship was already gone, vanishing into the pink sky. Panic rose in her chest. "This is impossible," she said. "I was to be delivered to the royal embassy on Titan Gate. This is a mistake." Ethan shrugged. "Happens. Galaxy's postal service isn't what it used to be." He smiled faintly, trying to calm her. "You can stay here until we sort it out. It's not much, but it's safe." Elira's pride bristled. A princess does not stay in a hut built of rust. "Suit yourself," he said, and turned to leave. But the storm's coming. As if summoned by his words, the wind howled louder. The sky turned orange and the air filled with biting dust. The princess covered her face with her jeweled sleeve and followed him inside. Inside the workshop, machines hummed softly. Old tools lined the walls. It smelled of oil, metal, and life. A small cot sat in the corner, and next to it a quiet boy with thin legs was sketching on a digital pad. He looked up and smiled shyly. "Hi," the boy said. "I'm Liam. Are you from the stars?" Elira blinked. Yes. I am Princess Elira of Thalvan." "That's cool," Liam said, smiling wider. "Want some water?" She hesitated. Royal blood did not drink from the hands of strangers, but her throat burned from the storm. She took the glass. It was cold and clean. Ethan watched from his bench, curious. The alien woman stood like a sculpture, elegant, proud, but lost. He had seen many off-worlders, but none like her. When the night came, Elira sat near the window, staring at the twin moons. Her pride whispered that she should escape. Her heart whispered something else. Through the thin wall, she heard the boy coughing. His voice was weak, but he was laughing with his father. "He's been sick since the collapse," Ethan said quietly behind her. "Doctors gave up, but he still smiles." "That's his way." Elira said nothing. She didn't understand such softness. On her world, weakness was erased, but here, weakness smiled back at her. As she looked at the boy's drawing, a picture of her ship flying over two suns, she felt something strange inside her. Not fear, not anger, something warm. Outside, the storm howled across the desert, burying footprints, hiding all paths. The wrong delivery had been made. But for the first time in her royal life, Princess Elira did not know if it was truly a mistake. She looked at the boy sleeping and whispered to herself, "Perhaps the stars delivered me where I was meant to be." The next morning, sunlight spilled through the workshop windows, painting soft gold across the floor. Princess Elira woke up to the faint smell of breakfast, something sizzling, something warm. She blinked, still trying to believe where she was. This was not a palace chamber. The ceiling was low, the walls were rough metal, and a small heater hummed in the corner. For the first time in her life, there were no servants waiting to dress her or guards bowing in silence. Ethan stood near the stove, cooking something that hissed in a pan. "Morning, Princess," he said with a grin. "Hope you like eggs?" "It's the only royal dish I can afford." Elira frowned. "Humans eat this every day?" "Only when we're lucky," he replied. He handed her a plate, but she hesitated. The food looked strange, yellow and soft, but the smell made her stomach twist with hunger. She took a small bite. It was warm, salty, and real. She didn't say a word, but Ethan smiled when she ate the rest quietly. In the corner, Liam was awake now, sitting in a small chair with metal braces around his legs. He waved shyly. "Good morning, Princess." Illyra turned toward him. "You are awake early." "I like to draw in the morning," Liam said, showing her a rough picture of her spaceship. "I tried to make it look shiny like yours." The drawing was uneven, but it was full of color and life. She felt a strange pride in it, as if someone had painted a piece of her world with a human hand. "Why do you not walk to me?" she asked softly. Liam looked down. "I can't, my legs don't work anymore. Doctor said it's the nerves. Dad built me braces so I can stand sometimes." Illyra's brow furrowed. "Your kind cannot repair such damage?" Ethan's voice turned heavy. "Out here? No, Colony doesn't have a medical center. Supply ships stopped coming years ago." The princess fell silent. In her empire, a single command could summon healers with nanotech miracles. Here, one broken child was left to suffer quietly. She didn't know why, but something inside her ached for him. Later that day, Illyra walked outside. The storm had cleared, leaving the colony washed clean. She watched the humans move between buildings, fixing machines, carrying water, laughing even though everything looked broken. How could they smile in such harshness? Behind her, Liam's small voice called out, "Wait, Princess, I want to show you something." She turned. He was struggling with his leg braces, trying to follow her. His father started to help, but Liam shook his head. "No, Dad, I can do it myself." The boy took one step, then another. The metal braces squeaked. He wobbled, almost fell, but he smiled through the effort. Illyra stood frozen, watching him like she was seeing courage for the first time. When he finally reached her, his face was red and sweaty, but his eyes shone bright. "See, I made it." Illyra bent slightly. "You could have fallen." "Yeah," he said with a grin, "but falling isn't so bad when you keep getting up." Her lips parted slightly. No one had ever spoken to her like that. On her homeworld, failure meant shame. Here it meant strength. Later that evening, she sat near the heater as Liam drew again. He handed her another sketch, a small picture of her holding his hand. "That's us," he said proudly. "Friends, friends," she repeated, the word unfamiliar on her tongue. "You consider me your friend?" "Of course," Liam said. "You're kind even when you look angry." Illyra looked away quickly, hiding the small smile that tried to form. Outside, the winds began to rise again. Illyra looked at the stars beyond the dusty window. Somewhere up there, her people were searching for her, furious at the mistake, but for the first time she didn't feel alone. Before going to sleep, she glanced at Liam's bed. The boy was already dreaming, his hand clutching the half-finished drawing. Ethan sat by his side, repairing a machine part with slow patience. The sight of the two humans, one broken in body, the other in spirit, filled her with something she couldn't explain. "Humans," she whispered softly, "you endure what others would not." And as she lay back, the faint sound of the wind outside blended with Liam's soft breathing. The alien princess, once lost and proud, began to feel something warm in her chest, something close to belonging. She didn't know it yet, but this human child, the one who couldn't walk, was about to change everything she thought she knew about strength, love, and what it truly meant to be alive. The calm of the next morning was broken by a loud beeping sound echoing through the workshop. Princess Illyra turned sharply, her royal wristband flashing bright red. The imperial symbol of her house pulsed across it. Ethan looked up from his workbench as she pressed the display. A projection appeared in mid-air, showing the golden emblem of the Thalvan High Command. A cold, commanding voice followed. "Princess Illyra, you are off course. Tracking indicates your vessel was diverted to human territory. Respond immediately." Illyra's throat went dry. The signal had reached her people. Relief mixed with fear. "At last," she whispered. "They found me." But then she remembered if they traced her here, they would find Ethan and Liam too. To the Thalvan, humans were a primitive species, barely tolerated. The royal protocol was clear. Any lower beings who interfere with royal property are to be detained or eliminated. She froze. "Ethan," she said quietly, "if they come, they will not understand." "Who's they?" Ethan asked, raising an eyebrow. "My fleet, my people. They will think you kidnapped me." Ethan laughed, a dry sound. "Kidnapped you? Lady, you showed up at my door." Her eyes glowed faintly with worry. "They won't believe that. To them, humans are expendable." Before Ethan could reply, Liam coughed hard from the back room. Elira rushed to him without thinking. The boy's breathing was shallow, his small chest rising and falling too fast. Ethan checked the oxygen unit. Its light flickered weakly. "Power cell's dying," he muttered. "I'll have to rig a replacement." Elira stared at the fragile child, gasping for breath. For the first time, the proud princess felt powerless. Her royal armor and bloodline meant nothing here. When Liam's breathing steadied a little, Ethan turned back to her. "If your people are coming, we need to know when." Elira activated the holo again. The voice repeated, "You will remain in place. A recovery team is being dispatched. Estimated arrival, 23 hours. 23 hours. Less than a day." The message ended. Silence filled the room. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "So soldiers will land here tomorrow?" "Yes. And they'll kill anyone they see as a threat?" She nodded slowly. Ethan gave a soft, bitter laugh. "Great, guess we'll bake them cookies." Elira glared, not understanding the humor. But then she saw the truth behind his tone, fear mixed with a strange calm. That evening, the wind rose again, but inside the workshop the three of them sat together. Ethan repaired an energy coil. Liam drew pictures of spaceships and stars. Elira watched them both in silence, her mind spinning. She had been raised to see humans as primitive tools, workers at best, nuisances at worst. Yet this man risked his safety for her without question. This boy smiled at her even when his body betrayed him. Why? Later that night, Elira stood outside under the twin moons, her wristband glowing faintly with the Imperial signal. She could send one more message, confirm her location, and the fleet would land directly on this colony. She hesitated. Her finger hovered over the button. In her mind, she saw Liam's small smile and Ethan's quiet eyes. Could she really hand them over to her people's judgment? "Princess," came Ethan's voice from behind. "If they come, we'll deal with it. Don't look so scared." She turned to him, her voice trembling. "You don't understand. The Thalvan Empire doesn't deal. It destroys." He shrugged. "Then let them come. I've got nothing left to lose." She stared at him for a long moment. "Why risk your life for someone like me?" "Because," he said simply, "you're here, and I don't let people die on my doorstep." His words cut through her pride like lightning. She lowered her gaze, unable to speak. Inside the workshop, Liam had fallen asleep with his drawing pad open. On it, a new picture. 3 figures standing together under 2 suns. He had drawn them as family. Elira looked at it and felt tears sting her eyes, though she didn't understand why. The next morning, the sky burned red. Distant lights appeared beyond the horizon. Alien dropships descending fast. Ethan gripped a wrench, his mechanical leg clicking. Elira stood beside him, her royal crest shining faintly. She whispered, "They're coming for me." Ethan answered, "Then they'll have to go through me first." And for the first time in her life, the alien princess felt afraid, not for herself, but for the humans who dared to stand with her. The desert wind began to roar again, carrying the smell of dust and metal. Above the colony, the sky turned the color of blood. The alien dropships were still hours away, but already the air trembled with tension. Inside Ethan's workshop, the machines rattled from the rising storm outside. Princess Elira paced the floor, her glowing wristband flashing warnings in her alien script. She had shut off the tracking beacon, but she knew the Thalvan fleet was still coming. Her empire never lost a signal for long. Ethan worked silently, his brow wet with sweat as he repaired an old generator. The lights flickered weakly. Liam sat near the heater, coughing softly. The boy looked pale. His oxygen unit beeped with a slow, dying tone. Elira knelt beside him. "What's wrong with it?" Ethan didn't look up. "Power core's giving out. I tried charging it from the solar panels, but the storm cut the lines. If it dies tonight..." He stopped mid-sentence, unable to finish. The princess's sharp blue eyes turned toward the broken unit. The alien tech in her armor glowed faintly. "Let me see," she said. Ethan hesitated. "You think your fancy suit can fix human tech?" Her voice was cold but calm. "My suit carries nanofabrication protocols. Give me access." Without another word, he handed it over. Sparks flashed as she linked the alien metal on her wrist to the human device. The soft hum of power filled the room. But suddenly the machine sparked violently. "Stop, it's overloading," Ethan shouted, pulling the plug. Smoke curled into the air. The oxygen unit went dark. Liam's breath hitched. The beeping stopped. "No," Ethan whispered. He dropped beside his son, shaking him lightly. "Come on, Liam, stay with me." Alira froze. She had faced war, betrayal, and death, but never helplessness. The boy's small face turned pale and his chest barely moved. Without thinking, she tore the energy cell from her armor. It was the royal core, her only source of life support and defense. "Take this," she shouted, handing it to Ethan. "Connect it to his unit." "What? That'll kill your suit," Ethan yelled. "Do it," she roared. Ethan obeyed, his hands trembling. He connected the glowing alien cell to the broken oxygen unit. The light flared, filling the room with blue radiance. The beeping returned, steady and strong. Liam's chest rose again. Alira sank back, gasping. Her armor dimmed, the royal crest fading. She had given up her protection, her rank, everything to save a human child. Minutes later, Ethan exhaled shakily. "He's breathing." "You saved him." The princess's eyes softened. He smiled at me once. I couldn't let that light go out. Outside, thunder cracked across the desert. The storm had turned savage, lightning flashing over the dunes. Ethan looked toward the door. "That storm's tearing through the power grid. I need to fix the main relay or we'll lose heat too." "You can't go out there," Alira said firmly. "You'll die." He grabbed his coat. "If I don't, we all will." Without another word, he limped out into the howling storm. The wind screamed against metal walls. Alira stood frozen for a moment, torn between duty and something new, fear for him. Then she grabbed her plasma torch and followed him. Outside, the world was chaos. Dust cut through the air like knives. She saw Ethan struggling against the storm, one leg dragging through the sand as he fought toward the relay tower. "Ethan!" she shouted. The wind swallowed her voice. She ran, shielding her eyes from the sand. When she reached him, his coat was torn, his face bleeding from grit. "Go back," he shouted. "I've got this." "You'll freeze before you finish," she yelled back. "Then I'll die trying." She grabbed his hand, steadying him. Together, they forced open the metal panel of the relay. Inside, sparks danced like angry insects. "Hold the wire," he shouted. Alira did, her hands glowing faintly as her alien blood conducted energy better than human metal. Pain shot through her arms, but she held firm. Lightning struck the tower, and both of them were thrown back into the sand. When she opened her eyes, the lights across the colony flickered back on. Power had returned. The heater, the oxygen unit, everything was alive again. Ethan groaned beside her. "You okay?" She nodded weakly. "You humans, you're insane." He laughed softly, his breath visible in the cold air. "Yeah, but it works." They limped back to the workshop together. Liam was asleep, breathing peacefully, his oxygen humming steady and strong. As Alira looked at the sleeping boy, something shifted in her heart. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel like a ruler looking down on lesser beings. She felt like a protector, like family. Outside, lightning still flashed across the horizon. But inside that small human workshop, the princess of an empire sat quietly beside a broken man and his fragile child, realizing that love wasn't something royal. It was something deeply human. "And she was beginning to feel human too, you said?" The storm passed by morning, leaving the desert washed clean and quiet. The air smelled of metal and dust. Inside the workshop, the machines hummed again, weak but steady. Princess Alira sat beside Liam's bed, her alien armor now dull and cracked from the night's power surge. She looked exhausted, but her eyes stayed fixed on the boy's peaceful face. For the first time since her birth, she had no power, no soldiers, no authority. All she had was a strange warmth in her chest, a feeling she couldn't name. Ethan came in from outside, his coat covered in sand. "He's still breathing steady," he said softly. "You really saved him." Alira shook her head. "No, we did." He smiled, leaning on his mechanical leg. "Didn't think a princess could handle lightning." "Didn't think a human could run into it," she replied with a faint grin. He laughed quietly, but then his expression turned serious. "We can't stay calm for long. Your people will be here any hour now." Alira looked down at her wristband. Its royal seal was cracked, flickering faintly. "They'll expect me to return, but if I do, they'll burn this colony for sheltering me." "Then we need another way," Ethan said. "Something to make them see you're not their hostage." Before she could answer, a weak voice spoke from the bed. "Dad, Princess?" They both turned. Liam's eyes were open. He looked pale but alive. Did I miss the storm?" he asked, smiling faintly. Ethan rushed to him, relief breaking across his face. You scared the life out of me, kid. Elira sat beside the bed. You were very brave, Liam. You fought harder than soldiers twice your size. He blinked. Really? Yes, she said softly. You are stronger than you know. The boy tried to sit up, but his hands trembled. I just wish I could walk again. Elira hesitated. Perhaps. You can. Ethan frowned. What are you talking about? She tapped her cracked wristband. The royal core I used, it still has fragments of my nanotech. If I can connect it to his neural network, it may help repair his damaged nerves. Ethan's eyes widened. That sounds dangerous. For him? For you, Ethan said. You've already drained half your armor to keep him alive. Elira looked at Liam's small, trembling fingers. Some things are worth the risk. Ethan stared at her, then nodded slowly. All right, let's do it. The princess placed her glowing hand on Liam's legs. Tiny silver threads of light spread from her fingertips, weaving through the air like living veins. The boy gasped softly as warmth filled his body. His eyes widened. It tickles, he whispered. Elira focused, her eyes glowing bright blue. Stay still, she said gently. They are learning your body. Minutes passed. The light faded. Elira slumped, weak from the effort. The armor's glow went out completely. Ethan caught her before she fell. Easy, princess. You've done enough. She looked at the boy. Try, she whispered. Liam hesitated, then pushed one foot forward. For a moment, nothing happened. Then his toes twitched. His eyes widened. Dad, I felt that. Ethan froze. What? I felt it. My leg moved. Elira smiled weakly. It will take time. But your nerves are waking. The boy burst into tears and reached for her hand. Thank you, princess. Thank you. Her cold alien fingers wrapped around his small human hand. No, she said softly. Thank you, Liam. You taught me something no one ever has. Ethan stood there speechless. For years he had watched doctors fail, machines break and hope die. And now, this alien woman, this stranger from the stars, had done what no human could. Outside, the horizon shimmered with heat. A distant hum echoed in the sky. The fleet was near. Elira turned toward the sound, her expression hardening again. They're coming. Ethan clenched his fists. Then we protect him. She nodded. Whatever happens next, you must stay behind me. He frowned. You just risked your life for my son.
You think I'm going to hide now?
For a moment, her eyes softened. You humans are the most stubborn creatures I have ever met. And you aliens, he said, are terrible at following orders. A faint smile crossed her lips. Then perhaps we deserve each other. The sound in the sky grew louder, ships descending, engines roaring like thunder. Liam clutched Elira's hand. Will they hurt you? She shook her head slowly. Not if I stand my ground. The lights outside flashed blue as the Thalven fleet broke through the clouds. The ground trembled beneath their feet. Elira rose to her full height, weak but unbowed, her armor cracked but her spirit fierce. She looked at Ethan and Liam, the humans who had shown her what courage meant, and whispered to herself, Let them come. I am not their prisoner anymore. And as the first alien soldier stepped down from the sky, she stood ready to face her own empire, no longer a princess of Thalven, but a protector of the humans who had taught her the meaning of love. The sky split open with a blinding blue light as the Thalven fleet descended through the dusty clouds. The storm was gone, but its echo still trembled in the air. The ground shook beneath the colony as 3 massive alien warships hovered above the desert, casting long shadows that swallowed the small human outpost. Princess Elira stood in front of Ethan's workshop, her cracked armor humming weakly, her royal crest barely glowing. Beside her, Ethan checked the power level on his weapon. A plasma cutter turned into a crude blaster. Inside, Liam clung to the doorframe, his breathing steady but eyes wide in fear. Elira's voice was quiet but firm. No matter what happens, do not come out. Promise me. Liam shook his head. They'll take you away. Elira smiled faintly. They can only take me if I let them. The air shimmered and a Thalven dropship landed nearby with a thundering hiss. Its doors opened, revealing soldiers in gleaming silver armor. At their center stood Commander Vornax, his face hidden beneath a visor, his voice echoing like cold steel. Princess Elira of Thalven, he declared. By the order of the High Council, you are to be retrieved immediately. You have violated the Royal Transport Code and interacted with a lower species without clearance. Elira lifted her chin, her tone sharp and royal. Your navigation error caused this landing, not mine. And these humans saved my life. Humans? Vornax scoffed. They are beneath our concern. Step aside, Princess. We will cleanse this area to remove evidence of your contamination. Ethan tightened his grip on the blaster. You try that and I'll... Elira raised a hand, stopping him. Don't, she whispered. Then she turned to face the commander, her expression hard. Touch them and I will strip you of your command, Vornax. The soldier stiffened. The commander hesitated, clearly torn between obedience and pride. Your Majesty, he said slowly, you are not in position to give orders. You've compromised royal secrecy and surrendered your power core to primitives. Elira stepped forward, her eyes glowing faintly. I surrendered it to save a child. A human child who has more honor in his broken body than you have in your entire fleet. A murmur ran through the soldiers. They had never heard a royal speak that way. Vornax's voice turned harsh. You disgrace your bloodline. Step into the ship before I am forced to... Force me? Elira's voice cut like a blade. Try it, Commander. The wind picked up again, swirling dust between them. Ethan could feel the pressure in the air, the kind that came right before something exploded. Vornax motioned to his soldiers. Seize them. The first soldier stepped forward and stopped. Something invisible shimmered around the humans. Elira had raised her hand, her last fragments of royal power sparking around her in a faint blue aura. The air itself bent and hummed. You forget who I am, she said coldly. I carry the mark of the royal house. You harm them and your ship will burn for it. The commander faltered. Princess, this is madness. No, she said, her voice shaking but strong. This is mercy. She stepped closer until she stood face to face with him. You will return to the fleet and report that I am safe, unharmed, and remaining here on diplomatic study. You will say nothing about these humans. Do you understand me? Vornax hesitated. Behind his visor, his jaw tightened. And if I refuse? Elira leaned in, her voice low. Then I will tell the High Council that you lost me twice. Once to human hands and once to your own arrogance. Which report do you think they'll prefer? The silence that followed was heavy. Finally, the commander lowered his head slightly. As you command. Princess, he turned sharply. All units withdraw. The soldiers hesitated but obeyed, retreating back into the dropship. The engines flared to life, lifting them into the sky. Within minutes, the ships vanished into the clouds, leaving only the hum of the wind behind. Ethan exhaled slowly, lowering his weapon. You really just scared off an army. Elira's knees trembled. The glow around her faded completely. I did not scare them, she murmured. I reminded them who I was. Liam ran outside, tears in his eyes. They're gone. He threw his arms around her waist. I knew you'd win. Elira froze, then gently rested her hand on his head. I did not win, little one. We just bought time. Ethan smiled tiredly. Well, that's more than most of us get out here. The sun broke through the clouds, casting warm light over the workshop. For a moment, the world felt peaceful again. Elira looked at the horizon, her voice quiet but full of wonder. Your world. It's harsh and broken, yet it feels more alive than all the palaces I've ever seen. Ethan grinned. That's because out here nothing's given. Everything's earned. She nodded slowly. Then perhaps it is time I earn something too. As the three of them stood together under the open sky, the last traces of warship smoke faded into the light. The Princess of the Stars was no longer a captive, nor a ruler. She was simply Elira now, the alien who had found her heart among humans. And far above them, hidden in the clouds, a single Thalven probe recorded everything, sending it quietly back to the Empire, where the true storm was only just beginning. The sun rose slowly over the silent desert, painting gold light across the colony's metal roofs. The night of fear was gone, and the fleet had vanished beyond the clouds, leaving behind only the sound of the morning wind. Princess Elira stood outside the workshop, watching the twin suns rise together. For the first time in her royal life, the dawn felt warm, not as light from a star, but as hope. Inside, Liam laughed. The sound was soft, shaky but real. Ethan was helping him stand near the table. The boy's legs trembled, supported by thin braces glowing faintly blue with alien nanotech. Slowly, Ethan said, smiling with pride and disbelief, one step at a time. Liam gritted his teeth, took one step, then another. His knees wobbled, but he didn't fall. He reached the edge of the table and turned toward Elira, who had entered quietly, her eyes wide. "Princess," Liam whispered, smiling. "I did it." Elira froze. For a heartbeat, she didn't know whether to cry or bow. The proud alien air, once untouchable and cold, suddenly felt her heart melt completely. She went to her knees and embraced him carefully, her voice trembling. "You did more than walk, Liam. You conquered gravity itself." Ethan laughed softly, wiping his eyes. "Never thought I'd see this day." The room was filled with the quiet hum of machines, the smell of metal, and something that felt like peace. The princess of an empire sat on the dusty floor of a human workshop, holding a child who had taught her what no council or army ever could, what love truly meant. Hours later, Ethan stepped outside with her. The desert wind had softened and small birds circled above the broken antenna towers. "So," he said, leaning on his mechanical leg, "what happens now? You stay here forever, or you fly off to your galaxy castle?" Elira smiled faintly. "If I return now, they will erase everything that happened here. They will call it contamination. They will pretend you and your son never existed." "Yeah, that sounds like politics," Ethan said dryly. She turned toward him, her silver hair catching the light. "But I will not allow that. I sent a message this morning, not to the High Command, but to the Council of Free Colonies. I told them the truth, that humans are not inferior, that they are extraordinary." Ethan blinked. "You did what?" Her smile grew sad but proud. "They will not forgive me. I may never return home. But maybe that is not such a loss." He was quiet for a long moment. "You know," he said, "for someone who used to call me primitive, you're sounding awfully human now." She looked at him softly. "Perhaps humanity is not a condition of birth but of heart." For a while they just stood there, the wind brushing against them. The alien princess and the human engineer, two souls from different stars, bound by something that no empire could measure. Inside, Liam's laughter echoed again as he took another step, calling out, "Dad, Princess, look at me." They both turned. Elira's eyes filled with tears she didn't try to hide this time. She ran back inside, kneeling as Liam wobbled forward, his first real steps on his own. He reached her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "I told you," she whispered, her voice breaking, "you would walk one day." "You were right," Liam said, smiling up at her. "And you didn't even need magic." She laughed softly, brushing his hair back. "It wasn't magic, Liam, it was love." Outside, Ethan stood by the door, watching the two of them. His eyes shone with quiet gratitude. For once, the colony felt alive again, like something new had begun. Not just for them, but for all of humanity. A message had been sent across the stars, a message that would spread through the galaxies like a quiet flame. Humans are not weak. Humans are not lesser. They are the heartbeat of hope itself. Later that night, as stars blanketed the desert sky, Elira stood with Ethan and Liam by the workshop door. The wind was calm, carrying the faint hum of life. Ethan broke the silence. "So, Princess, what do we call you now?" Elira smiled. "Just Elira. Titles mean nothing here." Liam leaned against her side. "Then your family now." She looked down at him, her chest tightening with emotion. "Yes, little one," she said softly. "Your family." As the twin moons rose together, their light fell on three figures standing in the sand. An alien princess who had lost her crown, a human father who had lost his hope, and a child who had given both of them back their hearts. And from far above, somewhere among the stars, the empire she had once ruled received her message.